Greetings, everyone. This is Leon, your ace and only reporter for Pride and Providence, and today I have a special guest in the audience in my studio, a young man named Xavier Brooks, who is here to talk about a few things. We're here to talk about education, and your business and your community involvement. So let's talk a little bit background. Who are you, and what you want people to know about what you're doing, and things like that?
I'm just a boy from Providence. Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
I'm one of 6.
Okay.
My mom and my stepdad, great people. My mom, Yvonne Heredia, who passed away in 2022, but she was
still in your heart.
Yeah, she's a great woman. Shout out all the nurses.
Yeah.
She was a nurse. But yeah, she was doing great things. So I kind of led in her path, of doing great things and like really being a community person.
Okay. Are you a family man?
Yeah, I'm, of course, family man. My wife, my daughter, great people. I love my wife. Shout out to Raven.
Hey.
And my daughter Naomi. I love them so much.
Okay.
Really, it's kind of the reason why I am who I am today.
That's important.
It really is important
to have that family background.
My sisters. I got 4 sisters, 1 brother. I'm just a family guy,
Okay. So I'm going to briefly mention our connection for two things. Found out that you a past friend of mine, and you went to school, or you were Chris?
Oh, Chris, yeah. So it's funny because he was actually my middle school teacher.
Okay.
And then we ended up working together at UCAP. And I was like, hey, you look so familiar. And I'm like, wow, but he still looked the same, which is crazy. Like, he looks exactly the same, but he's such a good guy, though, a really good guy. But yeah. So that's how that went, because he was my teacher, and then we ended up working together. And I was like, oh, that's so funny.
Now, with you being in education and you coming back, back in the circle with him, was he an influence to you as far as why you got into education?
No, so a little bit, but he was one of the few African American teachers I've had. I will say that he was probably one of the 2. I think I only had 2.
Okay.
But yeah, he was one of the only black males I had.
So he was a role model for you at the time to keep you going.
It's so funny though, circling back and seeing him now. It just feels so funny though, but. Really good.
That's cool.
Really good guy, though.
Yeah, that's cool. And another connection is through him. We were just talking. One of my customers is your mother-in-law.
Yeah. Yep. So I was looking up, landscaping. Right. I ended up finding you, and I was like, oh, a lot of other people were like, no, not today. So I reached out to you, and then it kind of found out that you had a connection with Chris, and I was like, oh wow, I was like, it's so world, it's so small.
It's so Providence. It's so Providence. It's so Rhode Island.
Rhode Island is just
exactly.
Yeah.
So now, and another thing we were talking about, and I just did a show a couple of weeks ago, last week, with the Autism Project, and I happened to see some of the information on your page, and you're doing something with not the same organization, but in the same lane.
Yeah, same lane. Yeah. So Day One Vending, we actually we do some some sponsors, and one of the sponsors is the Autism Corner, which they do education, they do educational services, they do IEP services, things like that.
Okay.
They're more so of like a hub for resources but like getting real resources,
And how did you get involved? How did you get involved with them?
So my friend, the CEO, Dontre.
Okay.
He's a great guy. We grew up together.
Okay.
And he just him and his family, they have they have their
set up.
They're set up, and they do what they do. And then so he was like, oh, he's like, they wanted to start it, and so I was like, hey, like this is a great cause. Like I would not mind, getting involved with that. And he was like, sure.
And how do you get yourself involved on a basis with them and with their projects?
So what we do is like, we provide snacks, drinks, we provide some toys, maybe if they need some toys or something like that. But we're just there to support, like, anyway, if you need some extra hands, like, I'm here.
Okay.
But yeah. So it's really, really nice organization. And they're on the rise, and they're really, really doing big things.
Okay, So, and then tell me about about your business, your vending business. That's something that we as people that see every day, use every day, count on every day, from coffee to whatever.
Yep.
What about that got you interested in it, and spurred your entrepreneurial spirit?
I'd probably say, like, I think it was just it's a little interactive. You gotta be a people person, because you have to really speak to people. I'd say that the machine doesn't talk. Once I go there and I do what I have to do, and I also think that, like, it's another side of it is that I'm helping people. Whether or not I believe it or not, like, or I think so, but people kind of count on some things that may go. Some people may be thirsty and hot. They may be they may want something to eat or something. But it's more so of really just making sure that people are getting what they need.
Providing a service.
Providing a service.
So like with me cutting grass, somebody needs their grass cut, they give me a call, come on, cut their grass.
Yeah, it's really a service base. So it's really like, making sure that, like, the customers are happy.
What about it? As far as your challenges, what do you enjoy about it? Or what do you do when, like, you have tough days? Or do you have tough days? You said, you don't talk to the machine, you just go and do what you got to do. Explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, so some of the tough things is like, so like for instance, like one of my last restocks, like I opened up a box and there was holes in the bag of chips. Something simple as that, but it's like. You just never know what you're gonna get. You can't put that in there now. So that's a little bit of a challenge. Or getting to places, or sometimes you have to coordinate with different locations. Sometimes you're not speaking to the right people. Sometimes people, you may get yourself into some legal trouble or something if someone else owns something and you're trying to service it. Little things like that. But I guess the great part about it is that like I said, it's really about helping people and serving people. And
what kind of when you're with your products? When you're seeing other, those other vendors or other, machines, like, do you walk past and go, oh, my products are better than theirs, or I've got, products that in my machine that are more healthy and that are, more that will help people.
Yeah. Every time I see a vending machine, I'm always looking at it like, oh, what do they have in there?
Okay.
What's in there? Who owns it? Who's looking at? Who's servicing things like that? But that's just like my mind just going crazy, and I'm just like, but no, I usually I try to tailor it to whatever the location wants.
Okay.
I usually tailor it to that. It's usually just like, hey, would you like this? Would you like that? Some people like healthy, some people like unhealthy, some people may want bandages. Some people want.
So so now, like with vending machines, in most cases, you can customize them.
Yeah.
Or, like most people, it's like all you get is snacks, soda, candy, and things like that. You were just mentioning other things that you could put in, in a vending machine.
Yeah.
What other applications can you use when using a vending machine?
Yeah. So we use smart coolers as well, though. Okay. So we use a mix of vending machines. The smart coolers are a little bit. They're basically like your standard cooler, and with a keypad on it.
Okay.
And you just kind of tap your card, open it up, grab what you want. But with those, we have more space, we have more flexibility. It's not really a lot of mechanical parts to it, so so it's a little easier. So we can put like I said, diapers, wipes, bandages. You can put salads, sandwiches, things like that. Really, basically, if it fits in there, it can go in there.
Now, in that case, would you put all those items in the same space, or you have a situation where people are like, oh well, it's like I'm not going to buy a bag of chips and buy personal items at the same time.
You could. Some people, you can put it all in there if you like, or you can have a standalone one. There's actually a couple different models that, like, you can have one side and the other side, and like there's two different sides, and it's nice. So But yeah, so you can put chips on one side and chips and drinks on one side, and you can put personal care items on the other side, toothbrushes, toothpaste, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and are there different? I mean, obviously there are different vending machines. I mean, what do you as a business, when you're doing the vending machines, do you look at, okay, well, I got to put, it's like sort of like with grocery stores, I got to put certain items in a certain order, to make it appease, the customer, and things like that. How does that, as far as your eyes, and as a marketer, how do you make that determination of what goes where and how it's priced out and how it moves?
Yeah, so I try not to do a crazy prices. I try to keep them like fair, and also, obviously you need a profit, but I try to make them fair. There's a little psychological thing of like where product placement, like in the grocery stores they say, the most expensive items or the fresher items or the nicer items are on the top, and the lower items are usually eye level. Or like the eye level items, there's a little psychological thing to that. But yeah, we do a little bit of that. But yeah, I just try to make sure it looks nice, as long as the presentation looks nice, and my prices are not crazy. I mean, I think it's a win all around. But yeah.
And as far as the the maintenance, how do you determine what goes where or what you need to replace? Sometimes you'll go to the vending machine and you'll want those M&Ms with peanuts, and they're not there. It's like now you're just like, okay, my God, what am I gonna do? Like, when's the guy coming to get my M&M and peanuts?
So we use an app that that tracks all the inventory. We use an app that tracks what sells, what we need to replace, and we just kind of go back and say, well, okay, we X amount of these sold. This is how many we had. This is how many. So we usually have an app that tracks that type of stuff. But also, we keep track of what doesn't sell as well. Keep track of spoilage. We keep track of things like that. So that way we're staying ahead of the game. We keeping track of expiration days, keeping track of all the other background work that gets a little.
When stuff expires, like the candy and stuff, does your daughter benefit from it?
She tries to, but I try to tell her. I'm saying Naomi, no, we can't. We're not supposed to.
She'll be looking at that box like that. That box has been sitting there for a week now, and ain't nobody touched it.
No, we try to stay away.
Keep her healthy and things like that. I get that.
But yeah, it's a great thing though. It's a great thing.
So again, you can see being an entrepreneur. In that business, and it's a niche business. How do you go about finding new opportunities, or I mean, is it you have to go out and cold call? Are you hustling, or are people like how do you generate your?
I kind of do it all. Like I call sometimes. I don't really like calling. I don't like being on the phone. I'm a little awkward sometimes. So, but I'd much rather just walk into a place and say, hey.
So you're more face to face kind of.
Yeah, my wife hates it because she's always like, what are you doing? I can go talk to somebody and say, hey, talk about vending machines. Hey, dude, I don't look in here. I don't see in here. Like that's usually the first thing I do in a place. I'll look at it if they have a vending machine, and if they don't, I'm like, okay.
You're walking and you see an opportunity.
I'm just like, oh, okay. I'm like, all right, well, maybe I can find someone I can talk to. Or if they do have a vending machine and it looks a little run down, I'm like, hey, does anybody own that? Does anybody run that? We have a business and things like that. So
okay, so you mean, and that being said, how is there like hit and miss? It's like you'll go into a business like, there's a space there. I could put a machine there. Things like that. Who's the general manager?
Yeah. I've gotten a lot more no's.
Okay.
I've gotten a lot of no's before I got a yes.
Okay. Well,
I would probably say for every maybe 15 no's, I got one yes.
Well, but that one yes makes it possible.
Yeah. I think a lot of procurement, a lot of building relationships. Yes.
Because
a lot of times it doesn't really, you could put one in a week, but I like to really take my time and really get to know who's going to be in the space, what type of space is it. Is it a family-run space? There are going to be kids there, because that'll, in my mind, that kind of helps me think about what we're going to put in it. Are there employees, or are they just kids, or are they just customers that are coming in? So it's a lot of factors that I go into. So I usually have a consultation. I speak with them a little bit.
And what joys do you, as a business owner, and this, do you like when do you hear like the cha-ching, like when the thing drops, is it that excitement? Is it going out, like you said, you like to meet people face to face rather than talk on the phone? Do you get a rush when you're doing that?
I do. When I start to like talk to people about, do you want a vending machine, or not do you want, but I just say, hey, like, would you like a service or any of our services that we do, vending, amusement, coffee, water, anything like that. So I'm just always like, oh wow, this would be nice. And I start talking. And once I start talking about it,
it's a passion.
Yeah, it's a passion. So I'm like, let's do it. This is what we can do for you. This is how we can help the people that come into your door. Keep them staying a little longer, keep them fed or hydrated, things like that. So yeah, we definitely, I definitely do get a little smile about it.
Yeah.
And even if people say no, like I just still like to have that conversation and still like, oh man, like, but this would be great. This would be great. Give them, it doesn't matter.
No,
either way.
Do you find sometimes that it's like, okay, it's a no now, but it's like I'll come back, and it's like I've been rolling through the neighborhood.
Yeah. Sometimes people just say no because they don't want to speak, or maybe sometimes I have to realize, okay, what time am I going into this place? So sometimes you don't want to go into a restaurant or a club or something where it's like 12 o'clock or something like that, where it's a rush hour, where like people are busy and you can clearly, and usually at those times, like if I can read the room, I'm like, okay, this is maybe not a good time. I probably wouldn't come. I'll come back another time, better time, but usually I try to, be a little mindful of like what they're doing and not just, hey, ask my billion questions already.
Right.
I want to be a little bit mindful of what people got going on. So
and also with the customers that you have, how do you cultivate those relationships? Keep going. Say, hey, it's like, this is Xavier, just calling to check and see how you doing.
So each time I go to a location, I just make sure I check in with the people and just say, hey, how you doing? Everything good? I also usually like keep my line open.
Okay.
I usually have like a sticker right on the side, say, hey, if you have any issues, you can call me, text me, whatever. But yeah, make sure that I keep that open line, and I'm just I'm available. Don't call me after 8 p.m. But
because it's family time.
Yeah. But
what's your greatest joy in business? Not beside your family. Besides your family. Which as a business owner, I've been told it's like on your worst day of business, that's when you find out if you can't deal with what you're doing on your worst day of business, then you're in the wrong business. So that being, and I've had those days where it's like I'll be out and it's like my equipment just won't start, and I'll be right at a customer, and it's like frustrated. But at the end of the day, it's like this is what I love to do.
Yeah.
The fact that I get paid for it is, for me, and I tell people, it's a blessing. So besides your family, where do you get that drive from, that passion, to do what you're doing, to be an entrepreneur? Because being an entrepreneur is not an easy thing to do. How do you keep that fire going?
I think it's just being able to just do something that I like, and I think it's just more so of like, all right, I can do this. I think just keep pumping myself up, saying I can do this, and I think just that brings me joy. And like seeing all my family like support me, I think that just brings me like a lot of joy. I'm just like, I have the support. I have my self-esteem and being able to do it. Yeah. And just just doing it every day. I think just the repetition of like making sure that like I'm out, I'm doing phone calls, or I'm just reaching out to people, or all of that. I'm such a people person, even though
that's where you get your connection.
It's weird because it's so weird because like, I don't know, in a room I might be quiet, but I'm also like, I can also be an extrovert as well. I don't know. It's really weird. Like I'm a social introvert. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I get that. You in certain areas, in certain areas, in certain rooms, when you feel a vibe, you're like, this is it. I can do my thing. I would describe myself as the same way, because people have told me this is like, outside of the studio, I'm a different person. Yeah. But when I'm here, it's like, this is my element. This is where I feel comfortable, and it's like for me to make other people feel comfortable is awesome. And you providing a service to people, they become dependent upon that. Just like, I know I'm going to get my soda, or I know I'm going to get my healthy drink. It's like, and that's that. that gives it, you know, that you're providing a service and, you know, that you're helping people, you know, that's one of the reasons, you know, as an entrepreneur, why you do things. You know, and in the last few minutes, you know, which I appreciate you coming in and talking about, you know, what you do in your education and your background. You know, if somebody, you know, wanted to get in touch with you, or, you know, wanted to say, hey, you know, it's like I might need something, you know, how do they get in touch with you?
So they can email me, text me, go to my business page, you know, all of that good stuff. I mean, I'm usually available. I'm always open to help people that like may even want to get into the vending business. Even kids, like I would love to get into like a you know, like an entrepreneurial
educational program.
Yeah, and you know, just how to set it up, how to just keep that drive, and how to really just, you know, bank on yourself. Right. That's really what it is. You're really just banking on yourself and just, you know, hoping that, you know, your breakthrough will come. And
you have to realize that it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight.
It's not.
You know, you're going to have your good days and your bad days. It's always a learning experience.
Yeah, it is.
Well, Mr. Xavier, I appreciate you coming on the show and talking about your stuff. You know, and you know, when you get a chance, maybe we can bring some your friend back from the the autism corner.
Yes, I think he would love that.
You know, and talk about that and talk about you guys' interaction and some of the things that you guys do, because fortunately, I have family and friends that are on the spectrum, and I think me having this platform, you know, and would generate some information for all of them, you know, to help them out. So I appreciate you coming on and giving me some of that information.
Of course, yeah, no, definitely, and he would love that. He would definitely love that. I think he would really appreciate it. He might even want to come on. So that'd be good.
We'll work on that. We'll work on that.
Sounds good.
All right, my friend. Hey, we're out. Peace.
Peace out.
Okay. Good.
All right.
Hope you had some fun.
Yes, it was fun.
All right. It's going to take me about 2 weeks to get it done, because I've got 2 other shows that I've got working on. But in that meantime, like I said, reach out to your friend, and maybe we can work on this. Next month, bringing him in, and some people, from the autism corner, and do some stuff like that.
Yeah, he would love that. Yeah. I can come back on, and we can. Any other things we can talk about?
Definitely, that would be awesome. Oh, so you're a hockey fan, I see.
Oh yeah. We're Providence Bruins fans.
Okay.
Love our Providence Bruins.
You guys go a lot?
Yeah. No, we just started going more so last year, but it's been fun. Yeah, it's a fun sport.
I have a good friend of mine. Him and his daughter go. They're Providence Bruins fans. Through and through. I mean, they don't miss a game. She would put lockers, a locker in the school, for kids that maybe needed a cleaning laundry soap or personal items and things like that. So you ready? Almost. Yeah, 7 o'clock. So, and that's going to be, we're going to be, we'll go back and forth, and then I'll ask you, and it's like, I've got a couple minutes left, look in the camera too, tell other people about yourself, what you're doing, and things like that, and we'll just, go from there.
Okay, sounds good.
Let me know when to start.
You can start whenever you want.
Where was it, down here?
Yes, right. Well, actually, closer to the wheel. Nope, the wheel of the camera. There you go. Now I can see it. I can see clearly now. And go. Nope, now red 12. Nope. Okay. There we go. So these steps out. Okay, and we'll go. 3, 2, 1.